So this is a very central Tehillim to our belief. It's filled with well springs of Amunah. It gives a person a very beautiful vision and understanding to the extent that we can get it to what is going on in the world around us. And perhaps, as we will see as well, it certainly has a lot to do with the times that we are in. It's not normal that we should be sitting in our homes going to a shiur. It's not normal that I should be standing in the shul all by myself with empty seats. It's not normal that we can't see our friends, we can't see our family. Grandparents cannot hug their grandchildren. Children cannot hug their grandchildren, cannot hug their grandparents. These are not normal things. People don't go to work, the streets are empty. People are not going to shul, the chasanas are made in backyards with 10 to 15 people. Brisim are made just with the father, the mother, and the moyel. Kiddushes are not being held. Babies are not being named officially in shul. It's a whole different world. And as different as it is, it's somewhat become a normal. It's somewhat become what's expected for each and every one of us. Nobody knows when the end is going to be nearly in sight. So our goal during these times is, as always, is to be mechazik, is to strengthen ourselves to the best of our abilities in our emunah, in order that we should go through these trying times, not going down, and not loosening and lessening in our faith, and not lessening in our connection to Hashem. But as we'll see from the Tehillim today, the reality is that in every single situation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu places a person in, the goal that Hashem has in mind is that we should get closer to Him, and that we should learn more about ourselves, and we should be able to see deeper into our neshamas, and we should become greater maminim, greater believers in the Yad Hashem, in the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if a person will work during these precious weeks of the virus with all of the balagan, all of the haywiring and very disappointing things that are going on around us, a person will in fact be able to regain or to gain a much higher level in their own ruchnius. We should really emerge as different people after this whole experience, not people that have been weakened because our davening is not the same, and our chesed is not the same, and our mitzvahs are not the same. On the other hand, a person should really emerge from these weeks of the virus as someone who truly understands these words of David HaMelech, that even though that I will walk through the valley of the overshadowed death, I have nothing to fear about, because I know that Hashem is with me, as we're going to see. Again, we ask that anybody that is coming on right now, could you please try to make sure that you are muting yourself, because the background noise is hard for other people to concentrate. So I'll make one last look over here to see if I see anybody, but we're asking that if you're coming on now, please do in your best abilities to mute yourself so that we don't hear any of the background noise. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go into the beginning of this Tehillim. Now, Rav Foyer writes in his Sefer on Tehillim, as he does by all of them, a Hagdam introduction, that we should know what is going on in this Tehillim. And he writes over the following idea, and that is that when David HaMelech, when King David wrote these words of Tehillim, again, if you're coming on now, please try to mute yourselves. It will be very helpful to everybody else that's here. As it says that David HaMelech was going through one of the most trying times of his life at this point. He was a fugitive. He was fleeing from King Shaul, from Saul the king, and the army that was running to try to chase him down and to take his life. And in desperation, David HaMelech hid himself in order that he should not be seen anymore by King Saul and his men. And he went into a forest, a very desolate forest that was called Ya'ar Chares. And Chares is from the language of Cheres, which means dried, parched out earthenware. It was a forest that was empty, it was barren, there was no water, there was no sustenance, and David HaMelech was fleeing for his life, and he was all by himself. However, David HaMelech realized, as time would go on in this forest, that Hashem never forsook him even for one moment. as Hashem made a miracle, and suddenly the dry ground of this forest began becoming soaked with moisture, and it had a flavor of Olam Haba, of the world to come. And even the grass and the leaves, which normally are stubble, are dried out, there's nothing to them, they became succulent and edible, and David HaMelech was able to live off of those as well. What did it show him? It showed him that even in the darkest hours of a person's life, when the whole world seems to be against you, when there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide, there's nowhere to turn, and it looks like your life is going to end over there in that parched out, dry desert because you can't even survive on your own, says David HaMelech, you know what I realized? I'm never on my own. No matter where I will go, and no matter where I will be, and no matter what will be going on around me, I recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always with me. He's always watching me. He's always aware of what my needs are, and He will take care of them under every single circumstance in a way that is sufficient to provide me with everything that I require to survive and to live and subsist. And this message that David HaMelech received over there in the Yar Chares, in this dried out desert of nothingness, is a lesson in which he's going to teach over in this Mizmor, in this Tehillim over here, which will allow each and every one of us, with whatever it is that we are going through in our lives, whichever pathways we are turning in, and whatever enemies we must flee from, and whatever viruses we must be quarantined in our homes as a result of, we will realize that no matter where we are, and no matter what is going on, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, who watches over each and every one of us with such exacting hashgacha, such overwhelming love and care and concern and total involvement in our lives. He never abandons nor leaves us alone or asks us to fend for ourselves. Ki Hashem imadi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us in every step that we take. Rav Hirsch writes in the opening lines of this Tehillim over here that David HaMelech is comparing HaKadosh Baruch Hu to a royeh, to a shepherd. And this, all the Mefarshim, all the commentators are going to deal with this. A shepherd, perhaps in our mind, is not the most glorious of professions in the world. It's not a person that had to go through college or to get some business degree. It's not a person who even perhaps has to be a genius or a very great intellect. A royeh, a shepherd, is someone who is able to understand at the very core how to take care of the sheep, how to take care of the flock, and treat them in a way that will be to their greatest benefit so they can graze, they can drink water, they can go in the herd and they can be safe from the predators, from the enemies. And when it's time to shear them, you'll take their wool. And when it's time to shech them, you'll take their meat. And when it's time to let them rest, you'll let them rest. A royeh tzayin, a shepherd, is someone who is able to be so in tune with the needs of each and every one of the sheep that are there in the flock. He is constantly moving that flock along in a way that is going to be to their best of benefits. And therefore, David HaMelech says to Hashem, you know what I realized from this whole ordeal? I realized, as it says, Mizmor LeDavid, a psalm of David HaMelech, a song that he is singing over here, Hashem Roi, Hashem is my shepherd, La'echsar, I will not be lacking or wanting anything. If Hashem is my shepherd, which means that He's watching over me specifically, He's my shepherd, happens to be your shepherd and yours as well, and everybody's shepherd in this world, but He is Hashem Roi. I have a private, personal world together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where I am in His eyes the only beloved said, that sheep that is looking, sometimes loses its way, sometimes struggles off the path, sometimes gets hungry and thirsty. I am that sheep. And Hashem is Roi, Hashem is my shepherd. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching over me. He's in tune with my needs, with my concerns. He knows what is best for me. Then says David, Lo echsa, I know, I am guaranteed. I trust with complete conviction in Hashem. Lo echsa, I will not be lacking anything. And therefore, Rav Hirsch writes, since that I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is my Raya, He is my shepherd, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making sure that I have everything that I need, therefore, Lo echsar, I will not want for anything. That's the way that Rav Hirsch translated it. Whatever it is that I have in my life, I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving me everything that I need, and therefore I don't sense a lacking or a yearning for anything else, because I know Hashem has provided me with everything that is necessary for my existence. And therefore I don't even miss what I don't have. I don't feel that I'm lacking anything in this world. I look at my friends and I see they have, quote unquote, more than me. That's because they have what their shepherd gave to them, because that's what they need. I look at this one over there, nicer car, nicer home, nicer shoes, nicer clothes, better husband, better kids, everything better. No, says David HaMelech, you have given me everything that I need, because you're my roya, you're my shepherd, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You watch over me with care and with concern, making sure that everything is taken care of. Lo echsa, I'm not lacking a thing. And I'm not wanting anything. I'm not looking outside of my own life, outside of my own realm to try to get something more, because you have given me what I need, and I trust in you, Hashem. And if I deserved more, or I should have more, then I would. Which means that I have everything. A person who has everything is not lacking anything. And that's the way that David HaMelech felt over here. Says Rav Hirsch that whatever it is that I don't have, it's because you have seen fit that it's fit to withhold that from me. And you show me your love sometimes, Hashem, by denying me the things which I desire, because you know that it's not good for me. Because if I would have it, in fact, then it would be harmful to my constitution, to my disposition, to my mission in life, so on and so forth. We find by the Avos HaKadoshim, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they were also royet zayin, they were also shepherds. And we find that those shepherds went through great lengths to make sure that the flocks of their sheep never ever grazed in fields that did not belong to them. Because there is a halacha of geneva and gezela, of stealing, and they would muzzle their sheep so that when they would walk through other people's fields, the sheep would not be able to eat. And they would never take them into a field that did not belong to them and release the muzzle and allow them to eat crops and produce that were not from them. Which means that what? As hungry as those sheep might have been, as much as they saw these lush fields filled with greenery and succulent wheat, patches and barley and all the different things that were there edible for them to eat, if the shepherd said, these are not our fields, they don't belong to you, you cannot eat them, so then the sheep would have to go around traipsing around hungry through the wilderness until they got to a field that was either ownerless or that was set aside already for them. Which means as much as we sometimes want something, the shepherd says, it's not ours, it doesn't belong to you, you cannot eat it. David HaMelech is saying the same thing here about Hashem. Hashem roi, Hashem is my shepherd, which means He watches over all of my needs. He satisfies all of my yearnings. He knows what I need and what I don't need. He knows what is good and what is bad for me. And therefore, whatever is right, He will give me. He will serve me on a silver platter. But if it's not what is in my best interest, if I'm trying to steal it from something that doesn't belong to me, Hashem says, we're not into thievery. We don't steal other people's lives. We don't steal other people's possessions. We don't steal other people's good fortune. We don't steal other people's blessings in life. I'm your Raya, I'm your shepherd, says King David, says Hashem. And therefore, whatever it is that I give you, you can trust me. Guaranteed, it's perfect exactly the way that it is. And that's what Hirsch is opening commentary over here in the words of David HaMelech is that his conviction was so strong, lo echsar. He said, I know that whatever I have in my life, I am not lacking a thing at all. And this really is the way that all the Meforshim say over here in these words. The Rashi writes over here, B'midbar hazeh, in this wilderness, which I am walking through, shani hoylech bo, that I'm traveling through, batuach ani, I trust in Hashem, shlo echsar klum, I will not be lacking a thing. And this is really a message to every person in their life, whatever situation that they find themselves in. We're all traveling through this world. We all have different journeys and different paths and different challenging situations that we will find ourselves in our lives. Often, Baruch Hashem, we will see the well springs of bracha, of blessing being overwhelming to us. The goodness, the charity, the tzedakah, the kindness, the compassion, the loving hand of Hashem. We'll see that. If you just turn around and you look, wherever you go, you'll be able to recognize and see that it is there. But yet, of course, we all know in our own lives, there certainly are the challenges that everybody must walk through. And then we look around at our friends, we look around at our neighbors, we look around at other family members, we look around at acquaintances that we make or the news that we see posted. We realize other people are not traveling down the path that we are. Other people are not being compromised in their lives the way that we are. And we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just give me a little bit of that. What do I have to go through what I'm going through? Says David HaMelech, Shani haylech bo, I'm walking through a wilderness. I'm walking through a lifetime. David HaMelech, as we mentioned so many times, had one of the most difficult lives that a human being can possibly imagine. Chased constantly by enemies, usurped by his own children. He was hounded by people that were trying to take over the throne from him. He was not honored in the right way. His own wife once criticized him that he was acting like a meshuggah, that he danced the way that he danced in front of the Aron Hashem. He was a person that struggled, that suffered, that knew heartache and pain. And he said, as I go through all of that, Lo echsar, I trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I am not lacking a single thing. Because whatever you have given me is a reward, Hashem. It is your blessing and the grace, min hashamayim, from the heavens, that is fortifying me with all of my physical, my emotional, and my spiritual needs. And when a person begins to look at their life in that way, then they never feel bad for themselves. They never get frustrated for themselves. They never have a yearning and a longing for things that are not necessary for their own particular growth, advancement, and elevation in this world. Why? Because I know, as David went through a harrowing experience, and he went through a wilderness that was dried out, that was parched, running from the enemy. They were trying to kill him. He had nowhere to turn, nowhere to run. And yet he realized that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took care of everything. He says, Lo echsar, I am not lacking a single thing. B'bitachain gamor, with total and complete trust and faith in Hashem. And therefore David was able, this is a mizmor. A mizmor is a song. David HaMelech was singing a song over here. It wasn't a dirge, and it wasn't a lamentation, and it wasn't some sad, pathetic excuse for his complaining against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chas v'shalom. Mizmor LeDavid means that King David was singing. He was rejoicing over the fact that he recognized that whatever it is that I have in my life, you, the Rebbe Hashem, you've given it, I'm not lacking a single thing. And all the Meforshim are along these lines over here, that they teach us that great faith and that great bitachon, that trust that Hashem, that David had in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, made him realize that everything is taken care of and I have nothing to worry about, and therefore I could be happy in any situation that I will find myself in. Says the next pasuk over here, Bina izdesha yar bitzeni, Hashem will make me lie down in pleasant green pastures, and He leads me beside the peaceful waters. Says Rav Hirsch, listen to these on the same lines over here. It means the following, that wherever HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to allow me to lie down and to rest, which means wherever HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take me in my life, in that place itself, there's going to bloom a pleasant pasture just for me. As we have said many times over the years, every single challenge that a person will go through in their life is only for one reason and one reason only, to help you grow, to help you become a greater person, to help you leave the smallness of the way that you think and the way that you look at things, and bring you to a new madrega, to a new level where you will recognize even greater in your life the hand of Hashem. You'll see more in your life the greatness and the nobility of the spirit that you have inside of you. You'll begin to see all of that. Why? Because whatever journey Hashem has taken you in your life, says David HaMelech, it is, you are going to lie down in green, pleasant pastures. There will be a whole field of flowers that are going to begin to bloom just for you. Says King David, I know that I was struggling. I know that it was a very compromising position that I found myself in. Nevertheless, from there, I bloomed. From there, I grew. From there, my amunah and my bitachon became so powerful and so strong, nothing could ever take it away at this point. And therefore, he says, instead of looking at the desolate field, instead of looking at the parched landscape, instead of seeing that there's nothing around at all to drink, all the trees are dead and the stubble on the earth is parched and dry, I recognize from that itself is where the blooming green pasture of specialness, of life, of goodness, of bracha, that's where it came from. And therefore he writes, Rav Hirsch writes over here, that if he would summons me and he would rise me up and he would tell me to depart because there's something greater for me out there, so then he would have taken me someplace else. But if he told me, this is where you're going to be right now in your life, this is where you belong, so then it must be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows this is where I'm going to grow to the best of my abilities. Rav Chaim Volozhiner writes on these words the following idea. It says, Yenahaleini Hashem, you are the one who leads me. And he says that David HaMelech is teaching us how to make the best use out of uncomfortable circumstances. Because why? Sometimes a person yearns to move on in life. They want to travel. They want change. This is the world of change. Everybody wants change. They want something different. They want something new. The only reason that Amazon.com is as successful as it is, gobbling up the universe, is because they convince you every single day that they know what you need in your life that's new to make you happier. So a person always logs on and they say, well, we've been tracking your buying patterns for the last 5 years of your life. You, the way that you buy things, you need this to be happy. And you need this to be happy. You need this change and this new thing to be happy. So a person wants change. I want to move someplace else. I want a new house. I want a new car. I want to go to a different country, different state, a different place, a new job. Everything new. The grass is always greener on the other sides. That's how it looks like. However, and we get frustrated. We feel tied down. We feel that there's no escape. We're suffocating under the situation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to David HaMelech, you must realize this is all the Ratz and the will of Hashem. And David is saying that that's why you must feel as if this is the very best place for you to be on planet Earth. Because if there was a better place, then you would have been there. And then he writes, that's why it says, he lays me down, which means I lay down in the green pastures. I must feel that even though perhaps in my mind I should be someplace else, in my mind I should be doing something different, in my mind the situation in the world should not be as it is. How many people have complained over the last 6 weeks? What are all these rules? What are all these regulations? Mask when you walk down the street, can't go to the store anymore, you can't go here anymore, the restaurants are all closed. Who's complaining? If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us not to have a coronavirus, and not to have to put on masks, and not have to walk down the street for a leisurely stroll on an afternoon and without a mask, Hashem would have made it that way. But if HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in such a time like we're living in right now, that this is the very nature of the world. And the nature of the world is that we find ourselves under lock and key, and the Rabbanim and the doctors all over the world are saying, please, abide by the rules. You are saving lives. Please, we know that it's hard. We know that it's uncomfortable. We know that it was a difficult Yom Tov for everybody, especially those that had to be by themselves and make a Seder all alone. We know that. We know that the grandparents that couldn't sit with the grandchildren saying Manishtan, we know that it was hard. We know that you can't go to work. It's breaking your bank account. We know that. Nevertheless, we're ma'aminim in Hashem. We believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our Roya, He is our shepherd, and He is watching over us. And everything that He does is best for us. And in that situation that we will find ourselves in, that's where He's lying us down to these green pastures that are going to bloom and going to sprout up beautiful fruits of our labor. And in these times of our life, instead of complaining, and instead of getting frustrated, instead of arguing with our friends, political conversations, are the Democrats right, are the Republicans, it's narishkeit, it's ridiculous already. What is the most valuable and important thing is, be a maimin in Hashem, that if there wasn't supposed to be a virus in the world, there wouldn't be a virus in the world right now. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is placing all of mankind under quarantine, and Klal Yisrael perhaps is one of the nations that is most affected because we are so close, and we are so loving, and we are so caring, we are so giving, and our whole life revolves around achdus and unity, and being together as one, in our schools, in our shuls, at our chasanas, at our brisim, at our kiddushes, every simcha, it's always together, together, together. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, be apart from each other, that means that these are the green pastures that a person has to recognize. From here, I will grow in ways that I cannot grow any other time in my life. So we have to stop complaining. Yes, it's long, and yes, it's arduous, and yes, it's no fun. Everybody knows that. Everybody feels the same way. But David HaMelech was running for his life. David HaMelech was under the hot pursuit of his nemesis, King Shaul, and his army. David HaMelech finds himself alone. The shelves were not stocked over there, not even with water, no tissues, no toilet paper, no meat, no cheese, nothing was on the shelf. He had nothing to his name. And he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I realize you're my Roya. You are my shepherd. And I'm not lacking anything. As a matter of fact, the situation that you've put me in, it's through this that I'm coming to such a hakara, such a recognition, such an understanding of you, Hashem, that therefore I recognize here is where I will grow, here is where I will thrive, here is where I'm going to be able to become the best me that I could become. And therefore David is teaching us, when you want to move and you want to change a situation, and you want to move on to someplace else, and Hashem keeps saying, stay where you are, stay where you are, don't go any place, stay put, only essentials, don't leave the house. If you do, put on a mask, put on your gloves, don't see your children, don't do anything. Don't complain. And don't even get frustrated. Because if you begin getting frustrated, that means that you're not living be'emunah, you're not living with faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem has prepared the green, lush pastures in front of you. And you could steig, you could grow during this time in ways that you never can before. It's all up here. How we decide to look at things, how we want to think about things, how we want to view the situation. Yes, it's hard and it's painful, and the news comes in, and there are deaths upon deaths, Rahman al-Islam. And there are manos, there are widows, and there are yisayim, there are orphans. Yes, and it's painful, and for that we want everything to end. But don't complain to Hashem. Why did you make it like this? On the other hand, utilize the situation to recognize even when you have no control. That's the point. David HaMelech is saying we have no control. You want to move, you cannot move. You want to go out of the house, you cannot go out of the house. You want to go back to work, you cannot go to work. You want to see your friends, you cannot see your friends. You want to hug your mother, you can't hug your mother. You can't do anything if they don't live under the same roof as you. But that's what Hashem wants. And He's lying us down in green pastures. On the other hand, says Rav Chaim Volozhiner, sometimes a person is very happy where they are. They're very complacent, they're very peaceful. They like their community, they like their house, they like the family, like everything is great the way that it's going. And they'd like to just settle down and live life happily ever after the way that it is. And what happens? HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts circumstances in a person's life, and suddenly something happens and things begin falling apart, and you're on the run, you're on the move, the job falls apart, you got to find a new job. The community doesn't go well for you, you have to find a new community. The kids are giving you headaches, so you have to work on that. And this happening, this happening. What's happening, says a person. Why is all this happening, Hashem? Why are you doing this to me? I was so happy before. Says Rav Chaim Volozhiner, no, David HaMelech is saying, Gam Zed, this is also for the best. Gam Zula Toiva, this is also for the best of your life. And therefore, David says, I accept it, not begrudgingly, that you took away the bracha, that you took away the goodness, you took away the peace of mind. No, I accept that also as the best way that I'm going to be able to grow in this world. And that's why, by forcing me to move on, what does it say in the pasuk over here? It says in the pasuk that as I'm traveling on, you bring me to tranquil waters. Tranquil waters? A person whose life feels like it's falling apart is tranquil waters. A person that's sorrows, one after the other, difficulties, challenges, pain, suffering, hardships, that's tranquil waters? Says David Melech, yes. Because Hashem is the one that's leading me on my path. And Hashem knows what's best for me every single step of the way. And if it would have been better another way, He would have done that. He could have brought me to the land of blessing. He could have brought me to the land of perfection. He could have made everything in my life work out perfect, exactly what I want. But no, Hashem says, I'm going to show you tranquil waters. So you look around, you see the storm is raging. That's tranquil? Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yes. Because whichever journey I am leading you through in your life, that's where you will find the pleasant pastures of growth, spiritual, emotional, emunah building growth. And that's where you will find the tranquil waters of life that will sustain you, that you will drink those waters, those clean, crisp waters of emunah and of bitachon from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, knowing everything that you're going through is the best. Now, we are saying over here, just to relate it to our lives, yes, everybody is frustrated, and everybody is getting tired being at home, and everybody is getting antsy, everybody is getting agitated, everybody is. But Tehillim over here is telling us, try your best not to. Because if you allow yourself to get angry and agitated and political and disappointed and all of the above plus some, you'll miss out on the golden opportunities of growth and of imbibing the tranquil waters of spirituality that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hand and spoon feeding each and every one of us. So therefore, says King David, be smart. Look at the world in a way where you could recognize that whatever is going along in your life, it's Hashem Yenahaleini. Hashem is the one that is guiding me. And therefore, since He is the Rayet Zayin, He is the shepherd, and I am His sheep, I am part of the flock of Klal Yisrael, I know and I believe without any doubt, it's all in my best interest. A person who looks at the world like that, the world is a very, very different place. Says the pasuk further over here. The Metzudas David writes on these words that Hashem guides me along. Yinaheg oisi ba'arech yashar. Hashem guides me in a straight path, lema'an la'ekashel, in order that I should not stumble. This is a very major foundation of our emunah and our bitachon, and that is that in every single path that HaKadosh Baruch Hu opens up to me and takes me down, the reason is He wants me to go on the derech hayashar, the straight path, that I should not be nikashel, I should not stumble along the way. Which means if I go according to the plan of Hashem, and I buckle down and I bolster myself up in my emunah, my bitachon, and my trust and my faith in Hashem, that I recognize it's all Hashem's plan, lo yikashel, I will not stumble, I will not fall. But if, Rahman litzlan, a person will go through times in their life where they disagree with what Hashem has done to them, and they hold that they know better than the Rebbeinu Shalom how to live a life and what to do, then what will happen? They will stumble, unfortunately. And therefore, let's not stumble through these times. On the other hand, let us utilize the times that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us to continue pushing and moving forward in a direction that is going to be so magnificent and so glorious that by the time that the virus is over, when they will finally let us out of our homes and back into shul and back into quote-unquote regular life, we don't even know what regular life will ever look like again, but when that momentous day will come, we will look at ourselves as have becoming so great and so elevated in our connection with the Rebbeinu Shalom that it is not possible that we could have imagined anything else. A couple of months ago, I went to visit a person who's in prison. And this is a man who went into prison. He was not the most religious of men. Traditional, yes. A believer in Hashem, yes. But in terms of practice, I would not say the most religious of people. And his experience in the cells of prison, under believe me, quarantine that you have is nothing compared to the Gehenna that this man has to go through. And he told me, because as he's going through this experience, he's becoming really a Baal Tshuva, he's becoming a man that is following the mitzvahs and the derech hayashar, the straight path of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He told me he has only one regret while he's there in prison. And he said the regret is there's simply not enough hours in the day to learn everything that he wants to learn about Hashem, His Torah, and His mitzvahs. This is a man who came from luxury, from wealth, and now he's living in a prison cell with hundreds of other people. He lives in one little bed all to himself. He doesn't have his wife and his children and his family and his loved ones and his partner. He has nothing. But you know what he discovered there in that prison? He discovered the Ribbono Shel Olam. And by discovering HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's not angry, he's not upset, he's not frustrated. Only one thing bothers him. What bothers him is he has so much that he wants to learn. And so much that he wants to cleave to the Ribbono Shel Olam. It's so close that he wants to get to Hashem. He feels there's just not enough hours in the day to accomplish everything. That is what David HaMelech is saying over here. You are going through hard times. You're going through difficulties. You're going through hardships and challenges. You find yourself under lock and key that you cannot escape. You cannot escape the coronavirus because that's the way the world works. Don't get angry. If you get angry, that's a chesaron, that shows a lack of your amun in Hashem. Don't despair. It shows you're not a boitech, you don't really trust in Hashem. Don't imagine how much better it could be. If it was supposed to be better, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would make it 1,000 times better. Which means this is where we are going to grow. This is where we're going to imbibe the waters of tranquility. This is the place where if we follow the path in the right way, Loi Ekashel, you will not stumble. You will not fall. You will not fall prey to the emotional whirlwind that so many people are in. I heard, unfortunately, that since this fiasco and tragedy has hit the world, so the rate of suicide is up, and the rate of discord in homes with marriages and children has also advanced. Why? Because there's so many people that are unsettled. There's so many people that can't put things into perspective. There's so many people that are under pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure, and not realizing this is where the well springs of tranquility and of the binais desha, the pastures of the fields that are blooming beautiful flowers in spring, are popping up one after the other. So we totally misread and mishandle the situation that is in front of us. But if we will do like David HaMelech says and see things for as they are, that Hashem roi lo yechsar, He's my master, my shepherd, I'm not lacking a single thing. And therefore, as He's Yana Aleini, He's the one that's guiding me along one step after the other. He knows very good and well where He's taking me. If you fight the direction, you're going to be in big trouble. You're fighting against Hashem. Can you fight against Hashem? Look at the history of the Jewish people. Any enemy who rose up against the Ribbono Shel Olam, where are they today? They no longer cease to exist. The Romans, the Greeks, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, they're gone. You rose up, the Germans, Nazis, Yamach Shemam, gone. You rose up against Hashem. You cannot survive because you're fighting the master of the universe, who has a clear path and direction of this world. Don't be an enemy of Hashem. Don't fight against the Ribbono Shel Olam. Hashem's not fighting against you. On the other hand, He's your shepherd, and He's embracing you, and He's guiding you, and He's leading you to the places that He feels is best for you. And therefore, embrace the situation. Make the best out of where HaKadosh Baruch Hu has placed us, because you and only you can do that. Nobody else in the world can. Nobody else can be inside of your brain and your head and tell you how to view the situation and how to embrace it and accept it in the right way and how to grow in a way that is going to be most beneficial for you. Only you can accomplish. And therefore, that's our chayva obligation, to learn out from these words over here of David HaMelech of how to do it in the proper way. Says the next verse, and we're in Gimel over here, Nafshi Yeshoivev, Nafshi Yeshoivev Yancheni. You will continue to restore my soul again and again and again. Yancheni v'maglei tzedek l'ma'an shemoi. You lead me in the paths of justice for His name, for the sake of Hashem. What does it mean over here? The nafshi yeshovev, that you will restore my soul again and again and again. Remember, David HaMelech is in a forest. He has no food, he has no drink, he's being chased by his enemies. His life, for all extensive purposes, is falling apart. And then he sees, whoa, suddenly the earth is giving off liquid, is giving off moisture. The plants and the trees and the leaves and the grass, suddenly they taste so sweet and so like Gan Eden. So David HaMelech realized no matter where you are in life, you'll be able to taste the sweetness of this world and the world to come. No matter whatever you're going through in life, Hashem is going to restore the situation so that you can find the best out of it. Says Rav Hirsch, I recognize at this point that all of the ways of Hashem are intended only for my physical well-being and for my spiritual and my moral welfare. Whatever is happening in my life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying it is best for you physically, spiritually, morally, emotionally, and so on and so forth. That the sole goal of any change that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings about in my life is not that it should be a harm to me, not that it should hurt me, not that it should take away from the forward direction that I'm moving in. On the other hand, I recognize it is the best, most amazing, and wonderful thing that I could possibly have in my life. And that's why, if it happens to be that resting is too much, or life as normal is too much for us to handle, it's no longer so good for us to live a regular life like we had 6 weeks ago, or 8 weeks ago, or 3 months ago, where we could go and we could do and we could survive any way that we wanted to, and we lived the way that we lived. If that was too harmful, so then HaKadosh Baruch Hu ends up taking it away because he says it's no longer the right thing for you. And therefore, whatever menucha, whatever peace you felt that you had, whatever regular life you felt that you had, if it was supposed to be like that, it would still be like that. Which means we have to be mechazik to strengthen ourselves to realize that the only reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought on the world what he's bringing, and I say the only, but one of the reasons that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought on the world what he did is because obviously the way in which life was being lived up until that point was no longer the best way of life for a person. Which means that we are obligated during these weeks in isolation, in quarantine, where life is not normal, we are obligated to examine our lives, to look into our souls, to see our actions, to see what we occupy ourselves with, what is meaningful and what is important to us. What is life really all about? If I can't go to the store and shop till I drop, if I can't go and see all of my friends, if I can't hang out on the beaches and do whatever I want to do, if I can't travel to the nice parts of this world and see a different location, a different locale, different people, different backdrop, if I can't do all of that, but Hashem says, just look at the walls of your house and examine those well, what in fact does Hashem want from me? And we're just coming from the Yom Tov of Pesach. One of the great Rosh Yeshivas of the previous generation, Rav Lezer Yudel Finkel, he was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir Yeshiva. He traveled from Europe through Shanghai, and eventually from Shanghai he came to Eretz Yisrael and restarted the Mir Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael and Yerushalayim. When they would clean their house for Pesach, as was very customary in the older generations, they took it very seriously. And they would, as even brought down in the Paiskim and the Halach authorities, they would scrub the door handles and the doorknobs. They would scrub the walls. They would make sure that everything was crystal clear, not one trace, not one ounce of chametz to be found. So every single year, on the eve of Pesach, after they finished all of the cleaning and everything, after they would scrub the walls in this house so they were sparkling white and sparkling clean, the Rebbetzin Finkel would gather her children together and she would say, "My dear children, take a look at the walls of this house. Take a look how clean and how sparkling they are. I want you to remember, these walls have not heard one word of lashon hara, of gossip, of evil speech. Let's try to keep it that way throughout the year. That as clean as they are right now, they should remain just that clean by the time that we get here next Erev Pesach." We have a lot of time to stare at the walls of our house and everything else inside of our house. Our computers, our screens, our phones, our choice of magazines, our choice of literature, our entertainment, our children, our spouses. You have plenty of time to look in the mirror and look at yourself as well. And we have to begin asking ourselves, is our life clean and sparkling and shining? Are our neshamas appreciative of the gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given to be part of Klal Yisrael, to be a member of the Am HaTorah, the Torah nation? Do we look and do we seek and do we search for opportunities of mitzvahs, of Torah, of tefillah, of davening, of chasadim, of acts of kindness? Are we looking in our homes right now? You can't go run down the street and do a chesed for your friend. You can't go and become the champion of the chesed committee of your shul or your community and everybody will know how much kindness and acts of good deeds that you do. No. But do we do enough chesed in our homes? Do we do enough for our spouses, for our children? Do you send enough notes to your grandchildren that you can't see them? Do your grandchildren send enough notes to you? They send out this beautiful video before one Shabbos of a group of a family. They couldn't be with their grandparents for Shabbos, so they came with the car. They put on a beautiful song, and they put the kids on the roof with a big sign, "Grandma and Grandpa, we love you. Bubby and Zaidi, we miss you." That's chesed. It's caring about another Jew. Do we live our lives like that? Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm isolating you away from the world right now. And again, if you're too hooked up to that phone, you won't even know what isolated from the world means. If you're just letting the noise and the voices of the political analysts and the CNNs and the videos and the movies and the WhatsApps, if you're letting them drone away in your ears all day long with those beautiful earbuds that have become part of your whole body, they're like an extra limb that a person has, so then you will not be able to hear the messages that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sending our way. Rather, silence the world because Hashem has silenced the world. And appreciate being isolated with the roye, with your shepherd who's watching over you. Appreciate the walls of your house. Appreciate the tables in your house. What do we speak about by our tables? What do we talk about? Do we spew forth our frustration, our heartaches and our hardships? We wish. It was some way else, it was better. No, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, David HaMelech is teaching us, this is the best way it's supposed to be. There is no other way, otherwise there would be another way. When a person begins to look at their life like that, we begin to think about things in this vein, and we open our eyes to see that this opportunity that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us in our lives is not a detriment to our growth. It shouldn't be frustrating to the forward motion and the blessing and the goodness that we'd like to have in life. Adarabba, on the other hand, it is to our greatest benefit because Hashem is saying, stop and take a look. And look at what is with you, and nafshi yeshoivev, your neshama will return again and again and again. Your neshama is so dried out and so parched and so tired and weary from everything that it has to experience in a regular day-to-day, from the time that the buzzer on your alarm goes off in the morning till you crawl into your bed late at night, after all the headaches and this and that and the stresses and the finances and the boss and the children and the kids and the school and the work and the traffic on the 101, everything. Says Hashem, I'm taking it all away from you. Nafshi yeshoivev, so that your neshama, that your soul will come back more and more and more and more and more. You rejuvenate yourself during this time. You'll look at your life differently. You'll look at your family differently. You'll think about the meaning and purpose of why HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us differently. We'll begin to appreciate the good and see the good in others and understand what that's all about. But you have to believe in that with all your heart. And you have to have emunah, you have to have faith and trust that the Eibishter, the Ribbono Shel Olam, the Master of the universe, who is watching and caring for and loving each and every one of us, he's our private royeh, our private shepherd. Lo echsar, I have absolutely nothing in my life to worry about or to feel bad about, because it's all for the good, and from this I will grow, from this I will be elevated, from this I can change in ways perhaps that I never changed before, and from this nafshi yeshoivev, my neshama is going to be restored again and again and again, all for our benefit and all for the good, be'ez Hashem. Okay, we'll hold over here in the third verse in Tehillim of chapter 23, and be'ez Hashem, next week we will continue and hopefully finish off this particular chapter. I'll open up the floor if there's any questions at this point. You can unmute yourself and feel free to ask. Okay, then in that case, I wish everybody a wonderful week, a week that's filled with amunah and bitachon and greater revelation that Hashem is the royeh, that He is our shepherd who takes care of all of our needs. Have a wonderful week. Shavua Tov, everyone.